I'll be honest, I'm currently 175 pounds, sitting at about 5'11 in height. I've been working out consistently, but I still look a bit of a skinny fat kind of kid. Like, I started off skinny, like more so on the skinnier side, but then started bulking, thought about that as the solution. Ate clean as much as possible, lifted heavy, but currently right now I still look like a bit wobbly, even though I have a bit of muscle definition. Not the best, but still trying to get there. And this video is more so about my progress and trying to show you my learnings along the way. And so essentially I look a bit bigger, but not necessarily better. So the question becomes, like, what do you do if you still look skinny fattish, even if you're lifting? This video will break it down and give you a tested game plan to actually help you in the process. Before we start, let's just start with what is skinny fat. Like, skinny fat is when you haven't necessarily built enough muscle. Like, you look both skinny, but at the same time your midsection is a bit wobbly, a bit of fat up there, a bit of softness. Basically look average, essentially. And this happens when you have some sort of either insulin resistance, maybe you're South Asian, you have some sort of stress-related fat storage, you eat inconsistently, you don't have enough muscle mass, and you just look a bit weak. And what would you say, to think about it, like the paradox that people go through is, like, should you eat more or should you eat less? Should you go on a bulk or should you go on a cut? Or you should just stay at it is. A lot of people go into this thinking that, okay, I should just forget about that, I should just lift. Like, lifting would just fix this issue. And in hindsight, that is part of it. Like, if you don't lift heavy, you're not gonna build enough muscles. But at the same time, like, before that, you also have to address your food intake, which is probably what dictates how much of that lifting that you're doing will be effective. Otherwise, you're just gonna store a lot more visceral fat, and you're just gonna be lifting but not necessarily looking the best. In this case right now, what do you do? Like, should you bulk, should you cut, or should you be in a maintenance, kind of like do a body recomp? I think to start off, if you're really skinny, like you have a bit of fat but you're actually skinny, then you're better off starting a bulk, like clean bulk. And for that, you take your body weight, you times it by 17, and that's basically the amount of calories that you should be eating. That's roughly about 200 to 300 calories above your maintenance level. And if you are absolutely a bit more on the fatter side of the skinny fat spectrum, then you should definitely be on a cut, probably in a 200 to 300 calorie deficit. So in this case, you would take your body weight and times it by 13, and you would get the amount of calories that you should be eating. And if you're in the mid zone where you're both skinny and also fat, like skinny fat, but at the same time, like, you have a bit of muscle definition, like you want to more so tone down, like do some sort of body recomp, like increase muscle at the same time, decrease fat, then you would basically be in a sort of a maintenance calorie, if anything in a slight bulk. Like, if you want to be in a maintenance calorie, then you would have to multiply your body weight times 15 to get the target number of the macro, like, calories that you should be eating. And with that said, if we get a bit more tactical in terms of what you should do, how you should train, like how to eat. So to start off, let's just start with what should you train like what should you actually do? Training, like, first thing, try to go to the gym consistently, going like 4 or 5 times per week. Like, for that, like, the biggest thing that I've seen for myself that I struggle with is probably lack of energy or lack of timing. What helped in this case is probably being caffeinated, like caffeine pills, coffee, or anything of the pre-workout, any of this pre-workout that you see outdoors with sugary drinks and anything, Red Bull, this, that. You could try those, but I do not recommend them. There's sugar, this, that, a whole bunch of stuff in there. I'd rather have you try caffeine pills in that case, like, let's say 100 milligrams to 200 milligrams. 200 would be where you would be really hyped up about it. 100 would be just a regular cup of coffee. Like, a Red Bull has about 80 to 100 milligrams of caffeine to begin with. And the other thing is, if you drink like caffeine or take coffee but you can't sleep at night, then I probably would recommend this pill called L-theanine, and also potentially magnesium glycinate added with it, which will actually counteract that feeling of hyperness when you're actually going to sleep. But to start off, lift 4 to 5 times per week. And then what should you focus when you're lifting? I would say in that case, you should focus on more so of the compound lifts, and that's essentially everything that people talk about, which is squats, deadlifts, overhead press, dips, pull-ups, everything that has multiple joints or multiple muscles in this case. My favorite probably would be like pull-ups, push-ups, dips, squats. I do them, but not necessarily like the best at it. But at the same time, I realize that's something that I need to do a lot more to get better. Deadlifts, I somewhat skip deadlifts, but more so do squats, like a lot more heavier on squats in this case, and overhead press. And the other thing you should be doing is probably progressive loading, like which is increasing the weight, and you really want to be achieving failure. Like you want to feel like your last couple of reps need to be your face is just like crooked, like trying to do squeezing everything you can. Otherwise, it's really hard to actually gain muscle because your body won't really change unless you force it to change. Think of it like you're training to be an athlete, and it's like you really need to push yourself. If you push yourself and if you're not coping, you will gain muscle. And the second point in this case is, what should you eat? Like eat to grow muscle and not just weight. Like you don't want to just get a lot more weight, but then that doesn't really translate into muscle. A bit of what happened to me, like I did eat, but at the same time, like maybe a lot of them weren't really muscle. Like currently right now, I'm going to go into a deficit and see how much I've gained in terms of muscle mass, but let's see, hopefully that works. So in terms of eating, as I mentioned, like for a clean bulk, it would be your body weight times 16 and 17. So for me at 175 pounds, it would be around 2,800 to 3,000 calories. That is for a bulk. Currently, I'm going to go on a slight deficit or maintenance to actually make it where I do a body recomp. And in terms of the split itself, like, protein wise, you want to be 1 gram per body weight. So in this case, for me, it would be about 170 to 175 grams of protein. For fat, it would be around 40%, like 0.4 grams per pound, so that would be around 70 grams. For carbs, you want to fill the rest with respect to your body weight. I'll probably go over this in a future separate video. And you want to track things at the start. You want to track them using MyFitnessPal, and then slowly over time you'll get a reference on how much it is to you want to use or keep. Like you will have a guesstimate of how much you need to eat. And the common pitfall that people fall into are dirty bulking in this case. Like you basically add a lot more fat than muscle, and you want to track your body weight every single day. I do this every single morning. After you do your business in the restroom, you if you have a scale there, try to measure yourself, try to measure it as consistently, maybe with your clothes off or with the same clothing every single day, and you'll get an idea of what is happening. And you don't want to be getting more than about 1 pound per week, and then that would be a really good size. If you get 1 pound per week, that's a good sign. And then anything below that, if it's too below, if you're losing weight, that's a tick tail. If you're getting more than 1 pound, you're getting 2 pounds per week, then you're probably adding fat. And then the next point in this case for tacticalness is you want to improve your insulin sensitivity. So what does insulin sensitivity mean in this case? It's just your body's reaction to how it converts carbs, sugar, all that jazz. If you have bad insulin sensitivity, you're just going to be storing a lot more visceral fat. And to fix that, you need to have a good sleep schedule. So about 7 and 8 hours to sleep. You need to be walking 7 to 10K steps per day. You have your iPhone app, you could probably use that very easily to check using your health. And in the morning, if you want to add something to it, you could try having your water with a bit of Himalayan pink salt, lemon water, squeeze a lemon, and then add 1 tablespoon of apple cider vinegar. The apple cider vinegar would probably increase the fat oxidation, and it would also improve insulin sensitivity. And you also want to eat your carbs around workout to utilize the insulin sensitivity in this case. And then the final point in this case, in terms of tactical steps, would be intermittent fasting if you're feeling bloated or insulin resistance. So think of it like you fast for 16 hours, and then in the 8-hour window of the 24 hours, you eat during only those time. This basically regulates hunger, makes it where your blood sugar is more stabilized, and you have a lot more hours to do other things. I eat my first meal around 2 p.m. and then my last meal would probably around 9-10 p.m. In the middle, I eat a protein shake, and then just that's how I structure myself so that I get most of my work done in the morning. And you'll find a lot of people do this. And if you do intermittent fasting, you'll also see that your deep work hours increase during the time when you are fasting. And for me, it was a productivity thing, but it turned out that this is also something you do for fixing insulin sensitivity, as well as if you're in any kind of diet where you need to help fix your body, anything of that nature. And then for the next section, like I'll talk about the common pitfalls that people fall into. Number one would probably be not training hard enough. So in this case, like people do a lot of junk volume, but then when you're repping or doing something, but then you're not necessarily like training really hard, that's not necessarily going to translate well long term. Like you have to really push yourself where you're gaining strength and you're pushing your muscles to where your body thinks this guy is actually really lifting and we really need to amp up our muscle mass. And second would be inconsistent nutrition, that you hit your protein some days but you don't, but you have to make sure that you hit 1 gram per pound of your body weight, and that's probably one of the most important things to do. And then third would be skipping recovery. Like if you're not sleeping right, that would just destroy every single thing that you're doing previously. You won't be getting any more muscle gain, or you won't be losing fat, because your body is going to be in this state of it can't recover properly, and you won't be able to lift heavy either because your body won't be recovered. And fourth one in this case would be like quitting too early. Like these transformations take about 6 to 12 months at the minimum, and you have to be in it for where it's a lifestyle change and not just like a temporary fix. And then the other thing is, like in terms of quitting too early, is like if you compare your timeline, like there's so many gym guys out there that are either they're in TikTok, they're shredded, this, that, they're just like, oh, I did this in 3.5 years, or I did this in 1 year, I did this in 2 years, and you compare yourself to it and you're just beating yourself up. Like, how do I get to that level? And the way I would say is take what they have to say, use it, apply it, and have the idea that you only control your inputs, but you can't control your outputs in this case. So people's outputs may be defined by their genetics, how they're training, everything. So take the advice that they have and do everything you can and to get to that result. But don't be like surprised if you get better results, which is like good for you, but then slight worse results, because it all depends on your hormones, your genetics, and everything of that nature. And then the final section that I want to talk about is about mindset and patience. Again, this is something that I will already be speaking about with the comparing your timeline, the quitting too early. And there's going to be days when you feel bloated, soft, and nothing changed. If you keep training, you keep eating with intent and keep fixing the weak links, you will build muscle, you will lean out, and you will beat that skinny fat cycle, as I'm trying to do right now. I'm in this journey myself, so I do not have all the things perfect, lighting, this, that, all that jazz to show you, and I'm not speaking to you from the mountaintop. I'm actually growing with you. So with that said, I'm documenting my fitness journey. If you are skinny fat right now, bulking, cutting, or stuck in the middle, and if you want to chat more, feel free to reach out and we'll stay in touch, and don't give up. Cheers.